everybody. Mark Schaftlein with you, and this is the Schaftlein Report. It's Thursday's edition, and we are broadcasting from the East Coast today, from Delray Beach, Florida, and from Long Island, New York. Jeffrey, Happy New Year to you. Happy to have you back on the show. There's never a dull moment in Republican politics.
Happy New Year to you, and actually, the way my father-in-law pronounces it, it's Delray.
Delray. Well, this place has grown from a sleepy little town 23 years ago to, it's amazing what's going on down here. Just it's an incredible place, an incredible state. So
a few really good golf courses.
And a lot of other things too. So, hey, all right, let's get started with it. They've had 7 votes now. Jeffrey, what's the definition of insanity?
Now, I got a question for you.
All right.
I spent an hour looking for this morning, and I'm not great with definitions. The ones that are fighting McCarthy's vote, are they imbeciles, morons, or idiots?
Well, Ari Fleischer referred to them as idiots a few minutes ago. Again, I don't like getting personal names, but it's incompatible to me what's happening here and why they're continuing to do this. I understand what their goal is, but at a certain point, when they weren't elected to do this.
Well, McCarthy made one bad mistake. He didn't fight against the 1.7 billion omnibus trillion.
Wouldn't have mattered whether he would have or would not at the end of the day.
But one of the reasons why they're fighting him is because he didn't fight that.
My position's always been a pragmatist. If you can fight and have a chance to win, that's great. But when you don't have the numbers, you don't have the numbers. And to step up here and wage an ideological fight that you're never going to win, I don't know. To me, this is mind-boggling what's going on. I can't tell you how disappointing. I'm a conservative Republican. I can't comprehend what this group of 20 is, what their end goal is, what they want. They keep moving the goalposts. To me, as a Republican, this is embarrassing. There's no way to sugarcoat. We've criticized Democrats on this show numerous times. We've criticized the president. We've criticized policies. We've offered some solutions. This, when our own side is doing something I'm trying not to insult them individually, but it's hard not to, Jeffrey. This is just absolute political disaster, self-inflicted wounds, and I just cannot comprehend. I don't know what their end goal is here. Can you shed some light on this?
I can only think of one legitimate reason for doing this. They're going to ruin the Democrats' budget because they're all going out to eat popcorn.
I don't know.
They're watching this thing and chewing on popcorn.
Well, seriously, what is their goal and objective here? Is it personal with yes. McCarthy?
Part of it is they don't like McCarthy. Remember, he wanted to run for speaker last time.
Right.
And he didn't make it. But there are people saying they'll never run against McCarthy. If you remember, last time Ryan said, I'm never going to run for speaker, and he was the speaker.
Right.
So, but the problem is if McCarthy gets elected now, he's impotent.
Maybe not. I saw some things on the news today. Allegedly, now again, we don't have any documentation of this because we haven't seen it from McCarthy's side yet. But allegedly, he agreed to allow one member to call for a vote to oust the speaker. He allegedly agreed to add more Freedom Caucus members to the Rules Committee. He promised votes on term limits and got an agreement for leadership PACs to stay out of open primaries. Club for Growth came out and endorsed him. They initially opposed him. But, and then you hear one of the 20 rebels basically say, no, we didn't agree to that, and that was leaked out of the room, and that's part of the problem we have. To me, go ahead.
I was going to say that first thing in the morning, McCarthy said, don't expect anything today. It's not going to happen right away. Now, I don't know if that was just political hoo-ha or they had something, but it has to get through the caucus.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about this morning?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd heard that also. I thought it was today, but I just wasn't 100% sure.
Oh, it was last night. But even in what you said, one vote before Boehner, that's what the rule was.
Right.
You know, Freedom Caucus on the Rules Committee, it's still only 4.
Okay.
Promises vote on term limits. Have the vote. It's never going to pass.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's not. It's never.
So the only one that might be is leadership pacts that stay out of open primaries. And if they add George Soros to that, I'd be happy with that.
What do you think that? I mean, how do you think this is looking to not just Republicans across the country, but average voters?
They're looking at this and saying, if you can't get your own house together, how are you going to get the country together?
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Republicans seem to me, I mean, this to me, one of the things they campaigned on was the ability to govern. That we can get stuff done. I'm not seeing it in this. I mean, on the one hand, and again, I'm firmly supporting Kevin McCarthy for Speaker. These issues should have been worked out because at the end of the day, we were told before the first vote there were 5 people against it. And, now we have 20 people voting against it. And that number's staying the same vote every single time. It's maybe deviating by 1. So where do you think this goes from here, Jeff?
I don't know. But all I could tell you is if I was given $1 million, I still wouldn't take that job. The last 2 speakers got no cooperation and had to leave the post. You had Boehner and you had Ryan. Some of these people are looking for perfection. Everything has to be their way. And it's kind of like what Reagan said. Someone who agrees with you 80% of the time is not your 20% your enemy.
Yeah.
So you got to form a consensus, and you can't get everything.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you bring up a really good point there. And Reagan's name's been invoked quite a bit, both here on this show and on the floor of the House. I see this
today that someone put Trump's name in
yeah, Matt Gaetz. He's a congressman. He's a congressman from Florida. I can't. I have a rule: thou shalt not speak ill about a fellow Republican. That's why I'm trying to guard against it. But I needless to say, this, in a way, almost reminds me of when John McCain selected Sarah Palin as his vice president. Everybody knew she was not qualified, and yet he picked her. And now we've got a group of 20 fighting, basically saying Kevin McCarthy's not conservative enough. They don't like him, one thing after another. I don't know. I don't know how long this is going to go on for, but they're on the 8th ballot right now.
Just started. Yeah.
Yeah, the 8th ballot just started. They're on that one right now. So I think at the end of the day, McCarthy's probably going to have to cut a deal with Democrats. That's my gut.
To deal with Democrats, he'll get more Republicans voting against him. That's one of the things.
I'm not so certain. I'm not so certain. I'm not saying you give Democrats. Look, they can end up with a deal. There's always a deal to be made somehow. But from my perspective, if you can't get these 20 to budge, then I'm going to look for other alternatives. If I was McCarthy and dug into the level he is right now, and I firmly believe that I was the right person to do this, and that you've got a group of rebels, whatever you want to call them, hostage takers holding it up, then I would work I'd work around something. But there's a lot of risk involved in that too.
I think that if it doesn't happen before the weekend, they're going to sit down and find a consensus nominee.
I don't think so.
Well, the other day when they nominated Jim Jordan, he said, "No way." I think he would have been great.
Yeah, but he doesn't want the job.
Right. Ryan didn't want the job either.
Well, Paul Ryan ended up as on Mitt Romney's ticket as the vice presidential nominee.
But he was also the speaker.
Yeah, sure he was. Of course. I don't know. We'll see how it plays itself out.
It's going to be interesting.
I think the point we're at right now, it's more of an embarrassment basically to the party and to the country based on what's going on, as I can tell. And the other question I have, Jeffrey, let's say he wins. He's able to attain the votes. What happens after that?
He doesn't have any power. I mean, even if he wins, he's going to have, what, a 3-vote margin? 2-vote margin?
Well, theoretically, you have 5, but obviously that's not the case. Yeah, well, a lot of people are saying there's no way he's going to cut a deal with Democrats if we lose Republican support. To the degree that moderate Republicans get angry with the far right-wing conservatives, that'll tilt if they're going to end up doing a deal with Democrats. I would want
to the Tea Party people.
Yeah, well, this isn't Tea Party. I mean,
but they tossed him out on the street.
Yeah, I mean, this is you could not launch a worst case scenario than what's happening.
Yeah, and if they were close to the votes, I was McCarthy, I say, listen to me. You don't vote for me now. When I get this, you're not getting a committee assignment.
The only problem with that is they're looking at him saying you're never going to get it, so we don't have to worry about that.
But the other thing is, how long ago was the election?
Which election?
The midterms.
Oh, back in November.
So it's been 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
He should have been working on this for 3 months.
He
thought he had it in the bag until last week. So, I mean, part of it is when you think you have something in the bag and you stop working on it, maybe you don't do well.
Well, we're certainly going to have a long weekend ahead of us because at the pace they're going right now, Jeffrey, they're clearly not going to have an answer today. They're going to go through more charade votes. It's going to be the same every time, and I don't know how this log jam is broken.
They need a day or two with no votes.
Well,
where they can all sit down and say, okay, what do we need to do? And they haven't done that yet. I mean, they did a couple of hours yesterday, but that's what they need to do. They need to sit down and say, okay, what do you want? What can we give? I mean, that's how I've always done negotiation. You sit down face to face.
Yeah, but you've got 5 to somewhere from 5 to 8. They're never McCarthy ever. Just doesn't matter what.
Let me tell you something. At least and I'm sure you've done as much negotiation as I have.
Right.
There's no such thing as a never. You could always find a thing that will turn around.
Yeah, I'm hoping they get there. I really am, because although I'm withholding my fire, my anger level right now is 20. It's off the charts, and I'm only adhering to, Ronald Reagan's rules because that's somebody I respect. But to say that this group is disappointing, Republicans, that's an understatement. It's gone to a complete.
You have more class than I do.
Yeah, well.
I name names and shoot.
It's become a complete embarrassment. So my prediction, they may do another vote today, maybe 9, maybe 10. I don't know. But you got 2 sides dug in. There's no business being conducted, and I'm not as much worried about that for a few days. But if you get beyond that point, if I'm in McCarthy's position and he's got an equally strong group of people who it's McCarthy or nobody, I play it out on McCarthy's side. So I don't know. We can continue debate.
The good news, though, is Biden's going to the border. Maybe they can shove them on the Mexican side and say, oops, why don't you close the door? Just a suggestion.
Why do you think Biden is actually going down?
Political pressure. He wants to be reelected.
Yeah, and I'll give you another one too. A lot of the migrants, New York City's complaining it doesn't have enough money. Eric Adams is saying, hey, we can't afford this. They're showing up all over the country. Today, the U.S. came out and said because we've got a lot of Cubans, Haitians, and Nicaraguans landing in Florida on boats. A lot of them landed in, some of them here in Palm Beach County over the weekend. There were some down in the Keys. Again, this isn't at the level of the Mariel boat lift that happened back in the early 80s, but it's a trickle of people coming through. U.S. came out today and said they're going to turn away Cubans, Haitians, and Nicaraguans. And I'm saying, well, wait a minute. They're turning away.
Because they tend to vote Republican.
Well, I'm saying they're turning those away, but they're letting all the illegal aliens cross down in Texas and Arizona. And I'm like,
what's the little island off of Key West that is a national park that they had to close because of the illegal immigrants?
Tortugas, I think.
Yes. They had to close a national park because of the migrants sneaking onto it.
Yeah. Well, again, that's a big issue hampering us. I think you're right politically. Biden, what else is he going to spend his time on right now? That is a big issue. I think the reason he's tackling is Democrats are saying, hey, we can't keep taking all these people. That's Democrats coming out saying this.
Yep.
Even Newsom out in California is saying something's got to be done about this. We can't continue just to have open, people coming across the way it is. So but here again, look at what's happened. That's an issue Republicans talked about throughout the campaign. Turned out not to be a big issue in the campaign. But now that Republicans are pulling this stunt in the House, Biden sees opportunity. He goes, well, I'll go down to the border. I'll deal with the issue. You want to work with me on a bipartisan basis? We'll work to solve it.
But did you see his speech today?
No.
He said, we asked for money in the beginning of my term and the Republicans didn't give me any. Guess what? If he didn't change what Trump was doing, it would be a lot better than it is now.
And what he said is actually not even true, because you had a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate. They just passed the biggest budget in history of the world. So, no, I'm not buying that stuff at all. I'm not buying what he's selling. But you know what? This issue is not getting any better. It is not.
It's getting worse.
It's getting worse. It's going to have to be dealt with. Let's talk about a little bit of good news. Buffalo Bills defensive back Hamlin showing some signs of improvement.
Thank God. Can I say God?
Yeah, sure you can. Absolutely. Now that was really good news we got today.
Yeah, it's funny because everybody was rooting for him. I mean, do you know that he has this account where he buys toys for the underprivileged?
Yeah.
And it had $70,000 in it Monday, and now it has over 7 million.
That's unbelievable. Wow. Yeah.
But
I mean, generosity
is getting a lot better.
Yeah, the generosity of the American people. I mean, we're getting reports, but yeah, look, noticeable improvement. That's a great thing. So I know it's stunned not only the football world, but it's stunned America, and people have responded in kind. And I'm really happy that he's improving. On the other,
just at the right time, because I know people that were hit by a softball in the chest and died of a heart attack.
Yeah. Look, we just went through it in our family. My brother had to deal with that, and really happy he's coming along well. But here, in Hamlin's situation, his heart stopped for like 7 minutes when he had cardiac arrest on the field.
And then when he got to the hospital, he had another one.
Yeah, right. So the fact that the guy is alive and kicking right now, wow, it's just amazing.
Today they said there's absolutely no brain damage.
That's incredible.
It's a miracle.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how the people in this country see something like that and they come out.
Yeah, shows
You know,
shows the
it
good
shows,
side of it. Yeah,
yeah, American character.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, on the other side, talking about the Putin situation here in Ukraine, Putin announces, a couple days halt for the Orthodox, Christmas, and basically says Ukraine has to give up territory if they want peace. Ukrainians say no, and Ukrainians are asking for more tanks.
I think that the Ukrainians should make land concessions. They should say the Russian gets to keep Moscow. Other than that, plus, Putin's pushing because everything I've read over the last 3 weeks, he's got 1 foot in the grave and 1 foot on the banana peel. He's really close to death. And the
Really?
picture, oh yeah. And it's not just Ukraine. I've seen not State Department, U.S. intelligence reports. I've seen, was it Hungarian or Denmark intelligence saying it, that he has cancer and he's really close to the end. And if you look at him, if you look at the pictures of him now and 2 years from ago, you can really see a difference.
I've seen some of those reports. I don't know whether to buy them or not, though, Jeffrey. I don't know how the reliability of those reports are. You just don't know.
Yes, but I keep seeing them from different sources at different times. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm beginning to believe them.
Okay. Well, the Ukraine situation is sort of like, I'm not trying to tie them together, but you clearly have a stalemate going on there. And, we're dealing with 2 stalemates right now, one in the U.S. Congress. And, the U.S. has been supplying some pretty advanced weapons to the Ukrainians, as has NATO. And if they get these additional tanks, this additional anti-missile defense system, this thing is could be dragged out quite a while still, Jim.
Well, I think we were going to send him armored vehicles, but not tanks. And he said, no, I want tanks. Beggars can't be choosy. Let me put it that way.
And always ask. He gave a speech before Congress. Everybody applauded.
But there have been some people coming out, why are we giving them so much? Why aren't we just giving it to our own military? I think that we should be giving to our military not that money, but other money that we're wasting on. But it's important for us that they win.
Yeah, 100%.
Not for them, but for us. And and if I was Putin, I'd be spending a lot of time in the steam room because I think when he dies, it's gonna be really hot.
Let's move back to some domestic stuff. Amazon, latest tech company, announcing 18,000 layoffs, joining the likes of Facebook.
Well, that's
a lot of different companies, having to do layoffs. I mean, Microsoft may have to. Salesforce.com had to lay off 8,000. A lot of tech. In other words, the reckoning in the tech space is happening. And yet, Jeffrey, economic news came out today. We added 235,000 December payrolls. Last payroll report in December grew by 235,000. We're going to get the unemployment report this Friday, but that's a strong job growth number despite some of these tech announcements.
Well, as far as Amazon and the tech stuff, look what the NASDAQ has done over the last year. They've lost a third.
Yeah, and it's continuing to go down here in the new year.
But what I haven't seen, and I was looking for it before, is, okay, we had this percentage of job growth. What was the percentage of payroll growth? What was the percentage of inflation during that time?
Well, inflation right now is running in the 6 to 7%.
Right. What percentage of payroll growth is that?
Not sure I'm following the question, but.
Well, they said payroll growth was 235 thousand, right?
235,000. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
What percentage of that is over November?
Oh, that was a December payroll number.
Right. But what I'm
Yeah. So, I
saying
mean, you're going to get an unemployment report come out Friday. Well, we're sitting here at 3.7 right now. So, the Fed, one thing the Fed is looking to do is to ease labor conditions because wages is a primary source of inflation. They're not getting any help from today's number, that's for sure.
Yep.
So, my guess is, inflation is going to continue to be running pretty hot. I do a lot of business down here in South Florida. Every entity I do business with is getting increased cost. I mean, everything from insurance, association, lawn, lands, but you name it. I don't see any let up in the inflation cycle down here. And, if you're sitting here with 3.7% unemployment and you're creating 235,000 jobs, people talking about soft landing, hard landing, that's
hard.
It's not landing. It means the economy continue to hum along pretty
good. There is
good.
a solution for some people. They can go in the tank industry in case we start giving that to Zelensky.
Hey, another domestic thing. Kohlberger made his court appearance in Idaho today. What do you make of that situation? When you and I talked in 2022, he hadn't been apprehended yet. What do you make of that situation, Jeffrey?
You know what? I've heard this 100 times in my life, but there's no place in hell that's bad enough for this guy. I'm sorry. He went into a dorm. He planned it out. He killed 4 people. And he stabbed them. And stabbing is usually a personal crime. Yeah. Okay. So these people suffered.
Yeah.
I can't say anything nice about him.
No, I mean,
yes, nice parents, but that's it.
Yeah. Again, in this country, you have an innocence until proven guilty. But my goodness, I mean, there was a collective relief, I'm sure, in Moscow, Idaho, when this guy was caught. But again, the trial will play itself out, and we don't want to rush to judgment on it. But they're going to be unsealing some of the evidence today. So we'll learn more about this over the course of the coming week. So
I keep thinking of the movie The Producers, when the guy who wrote the play said Hitler, he called his mother. That's the only thing you could say good about this guy, if he called his mother.
Yeah,
but that's about it.
It's a bad situation. Well, think about what we talked about there, what's on America's mind. The election of the speaker, what's going on in Ukraine, hot buttons there, the economy here in the United States. Kohlberger, captured it, back in court, and the issues happening at the border.
It's either Trump's fault or Republicans' fault.
Well, you know what? Right now, Republicans, you sort of cringe, don't you? Every time you see these votes, don't you cringe a little bit? Going, what are they doing? I mean, it's our party that's doing this. And one thing, Jeffrey, and folks, I know some of you concerned might think, Mark, you're going too far. No, I mean, we call it as we see it. And you and I criticize Democrats many times, Jeffrey, but when it comes to this, God, I hate using the analogy, especially after we talk about Kohlberger, but this is a self-inflicted wound. This is bad.
Well, for those who don't read my site, I trash Republicans when they're stupid. It's as simple as that, because if you can't, what you're really looking is a policy and an action. And anybody who's not doing that deserves to be, in my case, made fun of.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, you and I will keep a close eye on it, Jeffrey, and we'll talk about it next week. Hopefully by the time we talk next, we will have a speaker. Hopefully.
By the way, you know what else came out today? You know what Soros's next target is?
Oh, I saw that, the Supreme Court. Of course. But that's been one of their goals forever. So I don't see, over the next 2 years, I don't see that one going anywhere. That's why I didn't bring it up too much on the show. But look, Ron DeSantis had a great swearing-in speech here in Florida. He's running very high in the opinion polls, and nice being home, and happy that we're in DeSantis land here in Florida.
Well, I keep saying he's going to be the next president.
Well, I'm not going to doubt that. And
that I've been saying that since we first met.
yeah, sure did.
DeSantis.
Yeah. Well,
even if Trump gets elected speaker, which would probably make me shoot myself.
That's not going to happen. I don't see that.
Of course not. And you know what? The last couple of weeks, his popularity in the party has gone down.
I know that. Yeah.
So it doesn't look good for him as per the nomination either.
No, I don't think so. I think we're gonna have a lively primary debate, but first and foremost, we got to see the Congress. So, Jeffrey, again, Happy New Year. We kicked off to a good start, and
like I said, it always sucks with politics the day we're talking. Things always happen.
It does. It just goes without saying. All right, folks, we'll be back next week. Thanks for tuning in as we started the year. We'll be broadcasting from Delray Beach. So, Jeffrey, thanks for joining me today.
Say hello to my father-in-law if you see him.
He's out here in Delray. Exactly right. So, thanks a lot, folks. He's what now?
He's at Delray.
Oh, Delray. All right. We'll see you next week, folks. Go Kevin McCarthy. I hope he gets the job. Thanks, Dave.
Well, everybody.